Hello and welcome, wonderful people. I am the Loose Critic, and today I will be giving you my loose impressions of The Hand of Merlin, co-developed by Room C Games, with this being their first title, and Croteam, who are primarily known for their work on the Serious Sam series. I've played about 3.5 hours so far, and let's start off by looking at the options menu, shall we? 4 main tabs to look through, the top one being gameplay, where you can adjust your animation speeds, camera speeds, typical gameplay stuff. Nothing here missing from what I would have liked in the game so far. Some accessibility options with the visibility of your units and the tiles. Under graphics, graphics is a little interesting. It asks you to choose your graphics API, which normally, from my experience, this happens on game launch with games, but they do have Vulkan, which is a little newer than D12 and D11. And then windowed mode, full screen, borderless window, your typical trio of options. Choosing your window resolution. This has you just go through the list and it's confirmed when you hit save changes, and it doesn't apply until then, but I personally always prefer drop downs for these, but this was good enough. And they have all of the core resolutions that you need for modern displays: 1080, 1440, 4K. VSync, anti-aliasing. This was by default this off, so I turned it on. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's off. Doesn't seem to cost that much frame rate. Honestly, the game, while pretty in some areas, it's not too intense on a graphics card. Performance, you can choose your GPU speeds, CPU speeds, and your GPU memory. This is a interesting tab. Most games, from my experience, don't typically ask you what quality you want to run the game at here. It's usually just determined by your other settings, but I haven't messed with it too much, and I'm not going to. Leave it at default. Sound, you have your master, music, SFX, overworld volume, combat volume. The master volume defaulted at 80% for me. I turned it down to 50%. Ignore that 49 that was there. And as you can see, that stricken a nice audio balance. Music and sound effects are both at 70 and 80%. I didn't touch those. All right. Let's get into gameplay, shall we? You can see all of this loading into the world is very pretty. Very nice animations. All the storytelling is done through the journal. This is the third area, and as you can see, we have a layout here that you could travel down. You're moving from left to right, so it's a very Slay the Spire-esque, except that from going top to down, it's left to right. You can see when you highlight one node, it shows you the potential nodes that you can travel to, and it also shows you the available resources. Like under this node here, you can see gold, supplies, renown, and it looks like a relic. If you hold Alt, you can see all of them, which is a lot. It's a little unwieldy. And yeah, we're trying to get over here to the right, and this is the same for each level so far. Now, something I want to lead with is this is still my second run. My first run I tried on the hard difficulty setting, which I got almost to the end of the first map, and then I died. And that took me about half an hour to get that far. So far on normal, I have had a couple of close calls, so it's still challenging, but it's significantly easier than the hard mode. And it's still taking about 20 to 40 minutes to complete one of these maps, and I'm not sure how many of these maps there are. I would imagine maybe 4. This is the third one, so, you know, I'll see. But traveling from node to node, you can see some of these are corrupted, and there's no timers now. Oh wait, there's one here. Sometimes nodes will get these timers above them that tell you that after X amount of turns, this node will become corrupted. I'm a little torn on it, because when it's a node directly in front of you, and you're like, oh, I want to get there before it becomes corrupted, because then you have to fight corrupted enemies and abominations, which are harder. But a lot of the times it'll happen to nodes that are a lot farther out, that there's no way you can possibly get to them before they are corrupted, and all it really serves to do is to guide you in taking an alternate route to avoid that node that will be corrupted, which is a little weird. I don't really like seeing that something out here is going to go corrupted and then be like, oh, well, I will just completely ignore that node then. It doesn't change the rewards on the node. It just makes it harder. But with that said, let's go. Where do I want to go? See, there was a quest down here, right? So I'm gonna backtrack from this quest through anything interesting. This lets me upgrade my gear, the heroic node. You can see that it has on the top right corner while I hover over this, it shows you what the little resources are on the node. So we could get gear upgrade, blacksmith service, and potentially a new hero. So I think we're gonna go for that because that will lead us to the quest. And from there, we can approach that from 3 different nodes, one of which is a city, which I think, oh, there's a heroic node down here. So maybe we will start by going all the way down to this heroic node and then through this arcane node, which will give us some mana and essence, which we'll get into after our first combat, I think. Yeah, let's do that. Let's get moving, shall we? Into the first node. As I said at the start, story is told through your journal. I'm not going to bother reading all of this out, but a lot of the lore is from the Arthur series of history and all that era. So Round Table, there's knights. The Too Long Didn't Read, no spoiler version of the story so far is that you are a group of heroes being guided by the spirit of Merlin, who is essentially traveling the multiverse, which is how the roguelike element comes into this, to find a world where we can succeed. So if you lose, you keep some of your progression. It is a roguelike. You keep your spells. Well, some of your spells, and you get to choose from different heroes, which you unlock as you play, much like Slay the Spire. So let's see. Let's ask to visit a blacksmith, see if there's anything we can buy. This is the upgrade menu available in blacksmiths. I'd say maybe once a map, up to twice a map, you get the chance to do this. But as you can see, they're very expensive upgrades. I'm only gonna be able to afford 1 or 2 of them depending on where I go. And you get to choose between one of these 2 upgrades. So here, I could get a sword that increases my power, which is your damage or your multiplier for heals and shields and stuff like that. See, right now, I have a sword giving me +2 power. I could replace that with a sword that gives me +2 power and an extra 3 damage dealt to armor, or +2 power and 3 damage dealt to unarmored targets. You can also do armor, which increases your armor or evasion, or just a whole bunch of armor. Evasion is, as you would think, it is your chance to dodge 10% per point. Then your movement, how far you can move, accuracy, your chance to hit. This is at 10 but can get lowered by enemy abilities or increased by your own, but it can't go above 100%. Power is your strength of your abilities, and then range is how range your skills are, how far out they can hit. So let's look at some of these other weapons, because as you can see, he's already got his upgraded to level 2. Let's see if we want to upgrade our other heroes up to level 2. Yeah, you know what? Let's increase the range of our wizard, and I think just the power of our ranger. She's been doing pretty good with the ranger she has. So we go ahead and leave. We can continue. And let's choose this first node. Is right. Welcome, strangers. Yeah, we'll go to the wedding. Why not? So some events will give you buffs. Apply to your next fight. This one, for example, we get +2 power, and that will expire upon taking damage. And so you can see here, this node now has a marker above it letting you know that in 3 turns it will become corrupted. So if this was like down here, we would want to decide if we wanted to go this route instead, or if it was down here, if we wanted to pivot, which route we were going to take. Like if this said this was going to be corrupted in 2 turns, that's 1, 2, by the time we get here it would be corrupted, so we might change our mind to go to the city of Toledo. Old man. As the group continues, see the old man left behind, groping around his knees, looking for something. Alert the refugees. Yep. And so we get renown for doing good deeds, and that renown, once you have 50, if you open up your journal when you're not in the middle of a story, you have a little button up here that you can press to upgrade your heroes. When you do that, 2 things happen for each hero. You get to choose an attribute, which so far, aside from one time where I got a 3rd card, this has always been choosing between 2 max health or 1 max armor. Health can only get restored through items or events. Armor is restored between each combat. So armor is, in my opinion, significantly the smarter choice to take, unless you're worried about getting poisoned or things like that, which bypass armor. When you start, you only have these first 2 skills per hero, and then you choose your next 2 skills to fill out this bar. Then after that, you get to choose between upgrading all of those. So right now I already have my staggering bash skill upgraded so that it causes stagger, and my parry skill so that it gives my nearest ally AP if he dodges. And let's just upgrade slash. And you can see here you get 2 options when you upgrade something. Let's go ahead and give him guard down, because that increases the damage that a unit takes from all sources. And we'll just do that for the rest of our guys here real quick. Alright, and you can see here that you do get relics. You always start with a grail. When you start a run, you get to choose between 2 different versions of the grail. So far, I have honor, which is compelled duel, so whenever this hero attacks a enemy, they get compelled duel, which means that they deal less damage to anybody who is not her. This is really good for her because she has essentially an Overwatch skill from XCOM. And so somebody walks into her range, she hits them, and that triggers this ability, so she's able to apply it to a lot of people at once. And then down here you can see that you can store your grail plus 3 other relics on top of your already equipped relics. So essentially you can at any one time have, including the grail, 7 relics. 3 down here, 3 up here, and the grail down here. The only ones that are active are the ones that are equipped to your heroes, however. Alright. And we'll continue down to this heroic node. Ooh, a trader. Let's see what he's got. Nothing I can afford, because I am 4 gold short. Heroic node. Let's see. Here's the blacksmith. Can't afford anything. Speak to this guy. Tell him of someone's death. Alright. And you can see here each node has a different colored triangle next to it. That is determining how likely it is that you encounter a combat in that area. And so if I want to get down to this heroic node, but I also want to potentially earn some money, I'm going to want to go into some combat areas that are going to give me some money. Now, then again, there's not really too many between here and there. Maybe I will actually avoid this for now, and I will come over here to get some spells, and I'll figure out what I want to do after that. And a lot of this story is really well written. I wish I had more time to sit here and read it all aloud to you, but nobody really wants to listen to me read. Jump off and swim to shore. Draw -1 action points per turn. For 1 fight and expires after being applied once. So for the first turn, my warband would have -1 action points. I would rather lose the renown for that. Alright, so going into this arcane node, we should have a very good chance of entering combat. And depending on the hero that you choose, they will have different events pop up that they can interact with on their own unique way. So the ranger here was able to scout ahead, and we have abomination. So we're going to go into combat, and right away I'm going to highlight something that I do not like. You do not get to choose where your units start. It throws you in, and if you got ambushed, you spawn in here, and the entire enemy team takes their turn. When I was playing on hard mode, that caused one of my full health, full armor heroes to die before I got a chance to do anything. And that felt really bad as a player. But you can see you have 2 action points across all your heroes. The turns go, you go, then all of the enemies go, then all of you go. There's no initiative order or anything like that. Down here on the right, you can see that you have mana. You can have up to 5 at once, and you unlock spells. So far, 4 hours in almost, I've only unlocked 1 spell. That is translocation. And so this lets you teleport your currently selected hero anywhere within 35 tiles. So far, almost all of the maps have been this size. I don't think I've run into a map yet where I couldn't just teleport them anywhere. And then the default for Merlin is that when you use a spell, you reduce the cooldown for your hero's abilities by 1. From what I've read so far, it looks like there's 3 other potential overlords, essentially, aside from Merlin, that you can be, which will have their own unique spells. I have not unlocked any of that yet. Again, I'm 3.5 hours in, and I've essentially only played 1 round. It is very slow compared to something like Slay the Spire, where you could potentially complete a round in half an hour. Alright, so down here you can see we have our skills. 1 is always to move, and you can see here at the green, shows you how far you can move using your first action point, and if you wanted to keep going, that is 2 action points. Let's see. I'm going to use this totem. It lets any attacks that my allies do in the area poison. I'm going to move my tank up front. Then I'm going to cast that behind him. And then I'm going to move my ranger behind that for full cover. There is a cover system just like XCOM. And yeah, the combat is very similar to XCOM compared to something like, say, the Spire, which is card-based. It's a lot more tactical, and like XCOM, you get to do all of your stuff typically before the enemies get to do any of theirs. And so she's moved into this area where she's going to get to use her attacks to poison. So I'm going to use the Overwatch ability, which is called Sharp Vigil in this game. And over here, you can see something I don't like is that you see like positives, like these little green arrow next to your character, and you can hover over it to see the names of them. But if you want to see what they do at a glance, there's no easy way. It's just either a green blue up positive arrow or a red downwards negative arrow. And if you want more information, you have to go in here and then hover over each thing that you want to know about. And you'll see, let's see if I can poison anybody here in a round or two. One moment. And we're just gonna use some abilities that make him more dodgy and tanky. All of the enemies have the same green text pop up when they do things. And if you have like all of these enemies poisoned, that all happens at the exact same time at the start of the combat, and it's very overwhelming to watch and look at. We're gonna use an AoE spell here. So this should poison both of them and deal some damage to them. Except that it missed. That is very unfortunate. And she got to go in the middle of their turn because of, like I showed you earlier, when he dodges an attack, that gives 1 free AP to the nearest ally to do something with. Let's go ahead and... Wow, he is tanked up. So you can see, though, that he has a... That's not red, actually. My mistake. It's purple, which is a little hard to see when you have certain abilities overlaying it. But it's a purple down arrow, and it doesn't tell you what it is. You can see there's some UI going around his character showing you that he has armor, but also his armor's broken, and also he has a sword, so he's tougher, or is he stronger? Who knows? It's very hard to tell, and it takes some time to read and learn what all of these are. I think that's a big part of what slows down the gameplay. So let's go ahead and attack him. And then we will also... Oh, it's actually still their turn, that's right. You can see the map is also a little dark. That's something that I find after having played for a while in one sitting. It's very difficult to... Well, it's not difficult, but it's very headache-inducing to see. Like, this dark map contrasted with all of the bright lights that are constantly going off on everybody. And it's just a little difficult to really read at a glance. And almost all of the maps are this shade of dark. There's no map that really sticks out as significantly brighter than that. We're going to use a net to lock this down. But what I do like is the game feels good to play. Like, I could see people sitting down, even though it takes like 4 hours to complete a run, sitting down and doing it. Like, it's very engaging. There's a lot of different routes you can take your upgrades, getting to choose the different abilities you have at the start of each round, or each run, I should say. And each hero also has different unique abilities that belong to them. And when you start a run, there's a whole bunch of heroes that I don't have unlocked, because again, I haven't completed a run to unlock any yet, so I haven't gotten to look at that. But you can see that this guy, Morgantude, he's got Mystic, so when he uses his primary attack, which is called Singe, he gives buffs to any ally standing adjacent to that target. Our Ranger here, she gains increased crit chance when an ally is adjacent to an enemy, and when she kills someone, all her cooldowns are reduced by 1. And our Warrior here, when somebody walks past him, he gets an attack of opportunity and causes bleeding. And when he takes damage, his next attack deals increased damage. And I think that we are going to throw our tank out here to a little bit of a risky move, but he's got 34 armor. He'll be fine. So we'll just shove him into his ally over there, and that's our turn. And so you see all of these effects are happening at the same time, and that's very... It goes by so fast that it's not something that I, while I've been playing, have paid much attention to. I typically just look at the enemy before I choose to attack them and see if they have any effects on them that I need to move anybody out of the way for or pay attention to. It's so noisy. It's very difficult to follow. And it's all the same color. There's no different colors for if it's a positive or a negative thing. And you see at the start of our turn, also the same thing. And so all these green skulls, this is showing you that somebody is charging a big attack, and you can see it's this guy here, which is the cockatrice. So let's go over here on the right side. He is preparing an attack. You have one turn to disrupt him or kill him. And let's see, he has 8 HP, and you can see he's poisoned for 3, so we only really need to do 5 damage to call it good, and he'll die at the start of the enemy's turn. Let's see, is there something here that can just do 5 damage that isn't going to be a big waste? Well, she's not actually going to be able to do too much else, and because all of her stuff's on cooldown, but if she does kill something, then that will go off cooldown, but she's only doing 7 damage, so she's not going to actually end up killing anything. So let's take our wizard, and we will just finish him off. Make it easy. And then we can use this ability to restore armor to our tank. And then our tank will have a move. Let's see. Yes, the Thorn Toad is still rooted for 1 turn, so we will just avoid the Thorn Toad. He triggers an Overwatch attack from one of the enemies. That's another thing, the enemy variety. So far between the humanoids and the monsters, there's only been about, I want to say, 10 to 12 different enemy types, not including the bosses at the end of each run. And that is a little uninspiring because that means that it's going to get very repetitious very fast. There is a end turn confirmation you saw there if you haven't used all your AP on all your characters. Always a nice touch. I'm getting distracted. It's the enemy's turn, but they're not doing anything. Oh, I needed to end his turn. That's all. I'm a genius. Alright, so this guy is still full health. The Toad is free with 17 HP. He's bleeding for 2. I think that what we're going to do now is we're going to keep the Toad pinned down, and we'll come back to worry about him later. We're going to go focus on this guy down here. So we're going to move against this wall. Trigger the reaction. That's fine. Have him come up here. And we will put a new totem down. Maybe we won't. Yeah, it's fine. Toad can't reach him. He might get shot from this guy. That's fine. We'll put a totem down here so his attack can poison. And actually, a neat combination you could do is, if I hadn't used all of my Ranger's AP, is used her Sharp Vigil to go into that Overwatch state, and then use Staggering Bash to shove him out, and then she would have gotten a free attack from the Overwatch state. But I didn't do that, so we're just going to go ahead and attack. And you see, these combats can go pretty slow. You can hold down, and this was with the animation speeds on fast. You can hold down space to make it go faster, but it gets even more cumbersome to keep track of everything that's happening. It's already very difficult to keep an eye on all of the different status effects that are going on. That holding spacebar to skip all of that is just very, very hard. It's a hard sell. It's very, very noisy. There's just so much going on. Bring his armor back. A single skirmish will restore at least 20 points of armor. Wow. And you can destroy environmental stuff by shoving people in or doing big AoE explosive attacks. That is neat. That does open up more dynamics between the creation of stuff and what you can break down. Lucky miss. And I believe he's poisoned for still 2, so we don't need to worry about him next turn. He'll die at the start of the enemy turn after this. I'll hold down space just to get this moving. He is poisoned for 2, correct? He's bleeding for 3 and poisoned for 2. Yeah, he's a dead man. And you are poisoned for 2 with 3 HP, so I'll probably want my ranger or mage to attack you. Let's come down here and follow up on you. Oof, big whiff. Let's see. Yeah, we'll just have you finish him off. And come down here to support our tank on this last guy. Can you reach that? Yes, and AoEs so far from what I've seen do not hit your own allies. There might be some later that do, or different ones to unlock that do. None of the ones I currently have do that though. And yeah, let's just move her, we'll start moving her around back here. That's fine. Ooh, and this is something else that can happen is once you've killed a certain amount of enemies, sometimes a new enemy shows up. There's no indicator that this is going to happen, it's just a surprise. And this is my first time seeing a Lindworm. Underground body, deals 7 health at turn start. It can't move and it's immune to knockback. Interesting. And it has a range of 6. Alright, well that is good to know. Let's see if we can finish this guy off. That's not a good sign. $11 HP. 12, and he is poisoned for 1, so unfortunately I do need to use 2 attacks to hopefully finish him. Perfect. And something else that you can do is down here on the left you have some toggles to show the grid, so you can show the grid where you highlight if you needed to count a certain amount of tiles. You can also show the attack range, so now you can see a very hard dip on this map to see blue outline. That shows where your character's range is. So for her, because it's 6, it's going to show 6 tiles out, and you can disable that and you can just toggle that on or off with control. Again, it's very hard to see on this map, but I'm toggling it on and off right now. Let's move her behind some full cover for this guy. Hopefully he can't do more than 14 damage at a time, or that's going to really hurt. I have no clue what this thing's capable of. Let's find out. He's capable of missing. That's cool. And it does move. What that means is I'm assuming then that I can't move it with like a shove or something. Yeah, alright. I was misunderstanding that. That's great. Well, let's go ahead and start working on him. We're going to give our ranger some coating, which increases the damage she'll do to armor. Switch back over to her. And actually, let's go ahead and use this horn. So this is one of the relics we have. We can use it once per round, and it basically makes enemies take more damage for 1 turn. So let's do that before we actually hit him at all. Big hit, 13. And we'll give her that Overwatch state. And let's see, let's let you dodge, and we'll go ahead and attack. And you see, the animations aren't anything to write home about. You throw a pretty object, she shoots an arrow, he weakly swings his sword that you can't even see because of all of the words in the UI that are popping up. I realized she almost died. Ooh, 2 HP. That is scary. And yeah, that is the combat system. And sometimes it does enter this buggy state where even though you've killed everything, you have to end your turn in order for it to realize that the match is over. And yeah, here we gain some mana and some runes. And now we can enter this Castle of Marvels, and we could stay here or run. And we could apparently try to kill someone or escape a curse. So let's go ahead and show you the RNG elements. All it is is you get some cards that are good or bad. You shuffle, and the shuffle, there's no real way to cheat it that I've been able to tell. It just overlaps the cards and splits them, and it's really just luck by your click of the finger. All right, we escaped. And we have enough renown that we could level up again, but I think that what I'm going to do is show you the difficulty on the main menu. And so over here, let's go ahead and abandon that run. And these are the difficulties. So you have story, which is just for the narrative, which again, like I said, the story is neat. It's very King Arthur and all of that. And we have easy, normal, hard, and hard plus, which is locked until you beat the game on hard. And there are some different unlocks in gameplay between normal and hard. Normal, everything has standard stats, but in hard mode, you can also gain essence for each zone you clear, which essence is the stuff that you use to unlock spells and learn new ones. Enemies have more stats. Corrupted encounters feature a dire abomination, and you can reroll skill cards with essence, which are the cards you get when you upgrade. So I'm wondering if, because I mentioned I had been leveling up, I'd only been getting health and armor, that if I rerolled those, that could be used to give you different upgrades. But you come in here, and this is the loadout screen. So you choose between your cores, and this is why you can see we have the Merlin core, and then there's some undiscovered cores. There's 4 actually undiscovered ones. So there's 5 cores here with a bunch of different spells that you can end up loading out with. And then the hero list, this is also pretty deep, and you can see I've unlocked some from that last run that I abandoned. Warriors wise, I still only have Bruenor, and you can see each one of them looks like they have a alternative. I don't know if this is just an outfit or if that affects your abilities. It does look like it might just be cosmetic. You can see the Rangers all have the basic same attack and passive effect, but then their secondary skills and effects are different. And I would assume, I have another one here too. She can apply Blight, neat. And actually, I'm curious, can you? Ooh, so you do not have to take a warrior and a ranger and a wizard. You can choose between, actually it's not wizard, what is it? It's a mystic, that's what it is. So you could have 3 rangers, or you could take 2 rangers and a wizard, or you can take a nice balanced team, etc. So that's nice. And yeah, you can see here, this is like Merlin's hideout, overwatching the world and stuff. And this is the same intro, and each map starts over here. With that, I've shown you about everything that the game has to offer. Again, it's a really long commitment time to sit down and play. One run takes a long time. The combat is pretty slow. I enjoyed it so far, but I am hitting that point in my gameplay where the enemies are all doing the same things. They're very easy to predict. I don't know if there's any more later, but after 4 hours, I would hope to have seen more than 10 different enemy types. The Hand of Merlin is available for $24.99 on Steam currently. Should you buy it? I'm on the fence. It's a pretty low price for a lot of content. The game has a lot of content built in. It just doesn't feel like it has a longevity in actually playing through that content. It's going to get real repetitive really fast, but if you really like the XCOM-esque combat and you really like the Slay the Spire way of progressing through a game and having an end goal, then it's probably worth picking up and trying it out. If you don't like it after 10 hours or so, if you enjoyed that first 10 hours, that's still 10 hours of gameplay that you enjoyed for just 25 bucks. With that, thank you for watching. I've been the Loose Critic. If you enjoyed this video, you can show your support by hitting the like or subscribe buttons below, and if you didn't, you can hit the dislike button. Trust me, my feeling will be hurt. I'll see you next time.